Well, it is quite a great day for developers and also non-developers because Windsurf, which is an AI code editor, just got updated and now we got not one, not two, but three new models. So the company just tweeted that DeepSeek R1 and version 3 are now available in Windsurf, fully hosted on Western servers. And I think this is quite an important distinction because DeepSeek is from China, but fortunately it is open source, so anyone with enough technology and resources can host the AI themselves. And now we can use these two models in Windsurf. And not only that, Windsurf also just released O3 Mini in the code editor. So we got three new models, and I think this is quite an exciting time for anyone that just want to start building an application or a website even with no coding knowledge, because these models are scoring way higher than traditional AI models like Gemini or GPT-4o or maybe Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. To test that out, I actually have done some tests to see whether or not these new models are actually better than the traditional AI models. By the way, if you want to use these models, you have to download and install Windsurf on your computer, and after that you have to make sure that you're running the latest version of the program. In order to check that, you have to click on your profile picture right here and then click check for updates. If there is a new update, it will be downloaded and installed immediately. After that, you should be able to see the new models right here when you are clicking on the model selection, and you also see the cost of each model. I think it's quite interesting that these new models are generally cheaper than GPT-4o and Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. But is it any better? So let me show you the result of my test. The test is pretty simple. I asked each AI model to build a web-based classic snake game that can be played in a browser. I want the game to be as fun as possible and worth playing for hours. So hopefully this will force the AI to be more creative. Also, I offer the model to access the internet to see if there are any assets like images or script that it might want to utilize in the code. And to set the tone, I set Cloud 3.5 Sonnet to build the application first. This is not the new model, but I just want to have something to compare to. Overall, the coding process with Sonnet is smooth. It understands my basic prompt and was able to finish the coding in less than 2 minutes. The game is also decent, it is playable, it comes with features like scoring system, high score, and somehow a strange audio that plays when the game ends. Honestly, I don't know what it was, but still, the game is more or less pretty good. Now, let's try DeepSeek R1, which is supposed to be the top AI model at the moment. One thing that I like for a reasoning model is it will display the thought process to the user. So we kinda get a better look on how the model approaches the request. However, I found that maybe, just maybe, DeepSeek R1 and pretty much any reasoning model is not always the best choice for coding. It took more than 5 minutes to code the game, something that regular AI can do in 1 or 2 minutes. And what's worse, the game doesn't even work. So I went back to DeepSeek R1 asking for correction, and it took another 4 minutes of thinking. And yet, it doesn't even work. I couldn't play the game even after asking for the fix. So 0 out of 10 for DeepSeek R1. Quite unfortunate. Okay, now how about O3 Mini? Is it any better? Well, one thing for sure, it is reasonably faster. In just about 2 minutes, the code is complete. And the game is indeed playable, although it is simpler and doesn't come with the same amount of features as in Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. Still, props to O3 Mini for completing the request. Now, I think it's safe to say that the new reasoning models doesn't appear to be superior to traditional AI models. But how about DeepSeek version 3? Is it any better, or at least is it on par to GPT-4o and Cloud 3.5 Sonnet? Again, version 3 is not a reasoning model. It is very much similar to GPT-4o and Sonnet. So how does this model perform? Well, just like O3 Mini, it only took about 2 minutes to finish the coding and the game is ready to play. Except it can't be played. As soon as I click the start button, the game ends instantly. So I told DeepSeek version 3 about the problem and immediately it worked on the solution. Fortunately, the problem is solved and the game becomes playable. Definitely not as smooth as 3.5 Sonnet, but definitely better than its sister R1. Based on this testing alone, it's clear that the traditional model like Cloud 3.5 Sonnet is still doing a much better job than the new models, at least in coding. However, I don't want to throw DeepSeek R1 and O3 Mini under the bus just yet. For one, I'm not accustomed to working with a reasoning model. so perhaps the prompting technique is a bit different. Secondly, it is still in beta mode, and I'm sure the performance is going to be improved and hopefully it will be as fast as traditional AI models. Regardless, I think there is a good reason of using models like DeepSeek R1 and O3 Mini. They could be useful for debugging and brainstorming some ideas, and if you want to save your Windsurf credits, you might want to use these new models because they cost less except for O3 Mini, unfortunately. But for DeepSeek version 3 and R1, they are a lot cheaper than GPT-4o and 3.5 Sonnet. Originally, I want to try these new models by rebuilding this website. So I want to take a screenshot and then send the screenshot to the AI model to recreate. Unfortunately, these new models don't have eyes. Basically, you cannot attach a screenshot or a photo as a reference to build an interface. That's quite unfortunate. So right now, we can only use GPT-4o and Claude 3.5 Sonnet to attach a screenshot or a picture in our prompt. But if you insist to use DeepSeek R1 and version 3 or maybe O3 Mini and you want to attach a screenshot into the prompt, then we have to use a different method. I have explained that on my previous video, so if you are interested, you should check it out. Anyway, thanks for watching, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you on next video. Take care.